Welcome to the Deer Hunter Podcast, a platform created to entertain, educate, and evolve the modern-day deer hunter.
Up in that TV area, just on the southern edge of it. Like my southern property line is the property line between Oscoda and Ogama counties.
Okay, cool.
So like our neighbor can bait, but we can't bait. And there's like the deer herd just got decimated, when they did that whole.
There's actually going to be some more stuff coming out about that here probably when they release all the deer regs, because there's, I'm not exactly sure which part of it they're talking about, but I know they're going to reinstitute baiting in some of the areas.
Are they?
Really?
And I won't go in. I'm not going to get into that because that's going to, we'll go down a.
We'll touch on it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk primarily about deer hunting, but I wanted to ask you about your trip. You've been traveling quite a bit.
Yeah.
You could say around the world.
Yeah, we've been going all over the place.
Was that something you had planned for a long time?
Yeah, we had it planned for a while. My wife and I went with my parents over to Europe, and my sisters have gone a couple of times on trips through school, and my parents are both teachers, and they chaperoned that trip a couple times. So they had gone on it, 4 or 5 times, and I'd never been over there. And they were finally like, all right, we should do a trip over there. And at the time, I was at my old job, and I'd finally accrued some vacation time. I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. And so we went over there. We flew into Munich, Germany, and spent a couple of days there, and drank some beer there, and had a good time, and ate some food. And Germany is really cool. Really seemed clean, and it was a fun city. And then we went over to Switzerland and some hiking in the Alps, and that was incredible. Just the views there were.
That's
insane.
how I saw you were over there. You posted a thing on your Instagram, and I was like, whoa, that doesn't look like this country.
It's a different country, yeah. But, I'd put, I was out in the Tetons last summer. I'd put the Tetons and, western United States right up there with Switzerland.
Yeah, the only reason I was able to identify that you weren't in the States is because the dwellings in that, usually that kind of scenery in our country is untouched.
Yep. And it's like the area is like what you see like in the movies. I mean, where we were at, one of the James Bond movies is filmed up there, like the Jungfrau region. They have that like big weather station. I don't know which one it was, but it's like just like you'd see in the movies, like all the Swiss chalets and everything. It was pretty cool. It was a cool area. And then we finished up over in Milan, Italy, and we did like a day trip out to Cinque Terre, which is like these 5 little cities on the Mediterranean Sea that are all connected via trails, and so or train or bus, however you want to get there. But my wife and I like hiked between all the different towns and everything. It was really cool. Man, it was beautiful.
God, that's awesome. How long were you over there for?
2 weeks.
No kidding.
2 weeks. So it was a good little chunk of time, but I was ready to be home. I was ready to be home by the end of it. But
yeah, it
was fun.
That's a long vacation. So does she have a job where it's flexible?
Yeah, she's a speech pathologist for the school systems, so she gets the summers off.
Oh, beautiful.
She's working right now this week. She's got a week or two during the summer. She's got to work, but she's super flexible.
Gotcha.
And has the whole summers off. Has 2 weeks at Christmas. All the good vacation time.
Our mom's actually a teacher, so well acquainted with the schedule.
Yep.
How long had you had that vacation planned for?
Well, we had it on the books for quite a while, but we didn't end up booking some of the things until real last minute, like a couple weeks, maybe like 6 weeks before. But we kind of had everything. All right, this is what we're going to do. This is when we're going to be there. And then just kind of like booking some of the last minute things. But
your new employer was kind enough to grant you the time
my
off?
new employer was kind enough to
You-
grant me the time off.
You
so.
probably made them aware of that when you were.
Yeah, I was right up front about it, and I think it was a second interview. I said, hey, I've got this trip planned. It's in end of June, beginning of July, and like, yeah, we can make it work. So
your new employer is primarily the reason why we got in contact and why I wanted to have you over tonight to talk about that. Your new employer's the Quality Deer Management Association, but just bring me up to speed because I have no idea. What were you doing before that, and how did you find yourself?
Yeah, it's a totally different world than what I was doing before. I was working for a credit union in their mortgage department.
Okay.
I'd been there for 7 years, and I was like managing a group of like 16 or 17 people, kind of in their operations department. And I had started in Grand Rapids, and then my wife is from the east side of the state, and so when we got married, I moved over to the east side of the state, and it just so happened that they were looking to expand on that side of the state, so I took a bit of a promotion and moved over to the east side of the state and helped them grow that area. And we were like at 3 people when I started there, and I think when I left we were about like 60 or 70 people.
Really?
In like 2.5, 3 years, so just a ton of growth.
Wow.
It was cool. It was a great place to work, but I just knew that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be chained to a desk all day, every day. And
imagine by like your 5th mortgage, it's probably pretty grab at that point.
I was just hitting my head against my desk every day. Just like I sit in my car when I get there, and it's like, I do not want to go into work today.
I know that feeling.
But so I finally got over the hump of like, all right, I actually got to like go out and try to find something if I want to make a change. Because if I don't, I'm gonna be 50 and I'm gonna be doing this still, and I'm gonna be like, man, I should have tried something different. So I just kind of started looking around and checking things out, and I think you guys know Mark Kenyon with Wired to Hunt.
Yep, absolutely.
I grew up with Mark, so I reached out to him, and he kind of got me. We've been good friends since we were like 2nd grade, and I hunt with
because
him,
you guys are both originally from Grand Rapids,
Yep.
right?
Yep, both originally from Grand Rapids, and so he was kind enough to have me as like a intern, I guess you could call it. I'd help him with his like newsletters and doing some articles for him here and there, and just kind of helping him with some behind the scenes stuff, just to kind of get a resume booster.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that that for him took off potentially a little faster or at an accelerated rate than what he originally was dealing with, and I could imagine that he needed some help. So that
he's just that thing has grown so quick for him that it's just too much for one person to do. I know his wife helps him out with a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, but even that, she's got her own job and doing things. So he's like, well, I could use some help, and I was like, well, sure. What a great opportunity to get some experience and meet some people. And, I knew I wanted to go this direction, like get into the outdoor world in some capacity, preferably in the hunting industry or hunting field, whatever you want to call it. It just kind of worked out great. And
that's awesome to be part of that. He's kind of a pioneer in a different shift of the way people get hunting information.
Yep, absolutely.
And a big part of strengthening the overall community of deer hunters and being a transitional piece of just real good information.
Yep, absolutely.
So what is your actual title with
So
QDMA?
I'm a regional director with QDMA, and I oversee Region 3, which consists of Michigan, Indiana, and then like Western Ohio. So I've got a pretty big territory, and I'm on the road a lot. But it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's been like 2.5 months now, and I'm still getting my feet wet and learning a lot, but I'm feeling like I'm kind of getting settled into it and have a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing now. So it's been
a couple
been great.
high pressure states there probably. I mean, people don't take deer hunting very lightly in those areas.
Say that to me again. What is the territory?
It's Michigan, Indiana, and then the western part of Ohio.
Western part of Ohio.
So basically, like where 71 splits the state, I'm the west side of 71.
Okay.
So from up like, and it kind of goes like on an angle. So I'm like really covered from like Cleveland down to Cincinnati and west.
So regional manager.
Regional director. Yep.
Director.
Same, yeah.
So, what kind of the outline of your responsibilities or your daily workload? What primarily are you?
You know, I kind of have like three main goals, and like the 3 M's, or if you want. So help increase membership, help raise money for the organization, and help spread the mission of the organization. But there's a number of different ways I do that. I'm kind of like the liaison for all the different branches in those states.
Mm-hmm.
So any of those branch leaders that need anything for their banquets or for the educational events, if they need stuff from the national office, they'll come to me, and then we help them spread the mission to their group of people, and the philosophy and things like that through educational events and other things that they put on. And they're all volunteer based. And that's kind of where I come into play, where they need stuff from the organization. They'll, go through me to get that, or anything else that they need. Doesn't have to just be that. It could be, hey, we have this legislation action going on. We need some advocacy help. So we have someone that takes care of all the advocacy stuff on a national level, and so we'll get them hooked up and go from there on that.
Gotcha.
So.
What is the overall mission? I mean, I've read their mission statement, and I think the interpretation from a lot of people is that it's only to grow giant deer, but it's a lot deeper than that, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot deeper, and I think that's a common misconception that people think, it's just for a bunch of rich landowners that want to grow giant deer, and that's not necessarily the case. I think the main mission is to help increase the herd health, right? That's like one of the main things, and one of the main ways to do that is to let 1.5-year-old bucks walk. So one of our main things is trying to let the majority of those 1.5-year-old deer walk, 1.5-year-old bucks. There's kind of like 4 cornerstones of like QDM, or it's like herd management, herd monitoring, hunter management, and then habitat management.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more to it than just shooting big deer or growing big deer. There's a lot more components. The habitat piece is a big piece. We work not just with landowners, but state agencies, and help do habitat improvement projects on public land and things like that. It's not just for private landowners. Anybody who hunts, and if you pass on a 1.5-year-old buck, you're practicing QDM. And so it's not just for these guys that are out there managing their 500-acre farms and things like that. And I think that's, definitely one of the things that we want to try to get away from, is that stigma of, we're only for those people.
So is there a biological consensus that passing 1.5-year-old deer will strengthen?
Yeah, there's
the herd?
There's a lot of research out there, and I'm not going to try to cite anybody that has done it or anything, but the older the age class is in a herd, the more healthy it is. And there's all different things you can read out there that support that from a bunch of people that are a lot smarter than me. So I'm not gonna, try to go out there and.
It helps to balance things out and make them a little more natural, right?
Yep.
It's a little unnatural when a doe can live 12 years and a buck doesn't get 1.5 years.
Exactly.
We've been talking a lot about it lately, just because we all being local Michigan guys, we can all to attest that we've probably all been reading the stuff on the local Antler point restrictions, and there's been a lot of talk about that lately. And we had a conversation last week, and I still fall in the piece of the pie that says I don't know enough really to make that big decision where to push legislation through to actually change that law. But that's why I asked you I know the QDMA does a lot of good work, and if it's something that they feel, so I would guess that would you say, and I know you can't speak for everyone, but as a group, do you think that would be something that they would support?
Yeah, it depends on, there's a couple of different criteria that they look at to see if they're going to back, legislation or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't even have to necessarily be that, but they look at, like, one of the primary things, if they're going to look at an APR, because we're not the only state that's talked about APRs. Pennsylvania has them, Missouri had them. There's several, a number of states that have different sort of antler point restrictions or width restrictions or things like that. And we'll always look at it like, okay, is it helping protect the majority of year-and-a-half-old bucks. That's one of the main things. So they'll look at all the harvest data and everything and say, okay, out of all the bucks shot in 2014, 15, 16, would 3 points on a side protect the majority of yearling bucks? In Michigan, in the northern part of the state, the answer is yes. They had to go to a 4 point on the side in the southern part of the state. Right. So there's different things that they look at to decide if they're gonna back it from a national standpoint. And in Michigan, the things that were on the table, it checked all 3 boxes. So from a national standpoint, we got behind the antler point restriction movement and said yes, we would support that. So our state chapter president, Eric Schnell, he takes care of a lot of the stuff in regards to antler point restrictions. Excuse me. So he's been doing a ton of work and meeting with people and NRC commissioners and DNR officials, and he's done a ton of work on that and spent a lot of time. And again, he's a volunteer with the organization, so it's all on his own time that he's done that and taken time off work. And but yeah, it's hard. It's a hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's a hard thing to.
You have a lot of people
there's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of different opinions, and I think, I feel good about it because you look at the Northwest 12 up there and the support that it's received from there. They had 70% response rate on their surveys, and 77% of the hunters were in support of APRs.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, that's a huge amount of support.
Right.
From, I think someone said at one of the meetings, you can't get 50% of hunters to agree that deer are brown. You know what I mean? So it's like there's always going to be arguments and people that don't see eye to eye in the hunting world. And, it's unfortunate that it's divided a lot of people because we're all in the same fight.
Right.
And I think it's more important now than ever that we're all, on the same, we're all here for the same thing. We all want to hunt because we love to hunt. We love to, eat venison and all that stuff. And it's sad that it's kind of divided some people. But I think in the long run, it wouldn't, if they passed or if they didn't pass, it wouldn't change the way that I hunt. I guess that's kind of how I look at it.
We talked about this recently, and Drew made what was your statement?
What?
I believe you said, I wish people would just be smart enough to do things and not have to have laws passed upon them to.
Agree. Yeah.
And I've remained somewhat neutral on it just because I felt like I really just recently started paying close attention to it, and I just felt that I didn't understand enough in detail to make that decision. But it sounds appealing to have bigger deer.
Right. And I think a lot of people sometimes have a misconception about it where, a lot of public land hunters like, oh, this is only for the private landowners that want to grow big deer and all that stuff. It's like, well, if you really think about it, it's probably going to help the public land hunter more than anybody.
Right.
Because they can let that spike walk that they probably wouldn't shoot, but they're going to say, well, I'm going to shoot him because I'm going to let him go. And the guy, next door, the guy the next stand down is going to shoot him.
Right.
I mean, I think it's going to help, it would help a public land hunter more in terms of just being able to see more quality deer.
So that's one of the dumbest mentalities, too. I hate that whole mentality of I better shoot it so the other guy can't. Yeah. It's like,
but if you shoot it, there's no chance that the other, you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
yeah. Who says the other guy's even a good shot? He might miss it completely, and then the deer will be smart and make it till it's 3.5.
Right,
who knows?
exactly.
One of my thoughts that is holding me back from being all in on that is there do the numbers kind of back it up? And I think I saw that they do, not even locally, but nationally. Deer herds are starting to, groups like QDMA are having an impact, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you see pictures in the fall of people shooting deer in Michigan now that you'd never have seen 20. I mean, even 10 years ago, really.
Yeah,
so are people? Is it possible that this could happen on its own in a short period of time where we don't have to do it that way, or?
I mean, yes, and no. I mean, we did a survey nationally we just had people ask, I can't remember where it was at, but it was one of the major retailers, and one of the survey questions like, do you practice a form of QDM? And we didn't define it or anything like that. We just asked the question. I think like 82% of respondents said, yes, we practice some form of QDM.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've definitely made an impact in the hunting community, that people are wanting to have improved, hunting on there wherever they hunt, whether it be public or private land. So, I mean, yes, to an extent, but I think, again, look at the Northwest 12 and just the success that they've had there in 4 years. I mean, 4 years, and it's been overwhelmingly well received there. I mean, I think if you go back and look at the percentages of when they decided to do it,
just explain what the Northwest 12 is.
Northwest 12, yeah, sorry. It's 13 counties in the northwest part of Michigan that did the antler point restrictions as a trial period.
And who imposed that? Why those counties and why not other counties? Why did that happen?
I don't know all the specifics of it, but I know that there was actually a number of like QDMA members in that area that really pushed hard to get
just
that.
petitions and things, basically verbal agreements.
Like a grassroots effort to try to increase the hunting in those areas. And, for any of the listeners that know, like northern Michigan, it's been a tough place to hunt the last, 10, 15 years. Just,
right.
Different habitat up there, and, different
historically,
set of predators.
Yeah, and as of late, I mean, we're coming out of them, but historically, the two worst winters on record didn't help.
Exactly.
Didn't help at all.
Yeah, those were brutal winters. I remember going to work some mornings, it was like negative 34 down here, so I couldn't even imagine up there.
So, historically, the hunting has been, not as good as it was probably in the olden days up there, and that's where everyone went, right? They went north to deer camp in Michigan, and so to see them lift like the trial period a year early because of the success that they've had up there, I think that shows you that there is a large group of people in this state that would like to see it go that way. And I don't want to get too tied up in APRs because it's one tool that we can use from a QDM standpoint. It's one tool in a toolbox full of different things that we can do, and it's a lot more than just antler point restrictions. Well,
the only reason I really wanted to spend a little bit of time on it is just because lately I've been seeing a lot of, the arguments real quickly get pretty nasty.
Right.
And it's good to have balanced conversations about it and know the facts and the detail. And like I said myself, I just feel that I didn't have enough information. So I'm still a little bit on the fence. Last year, I hadn't shot a 1.5-year-old buck in 10 years. But last season, I got put in a spot where it was the end of the season. I needed a deer. I had filled my doe tag downstate. I didn't have a doe tag for up north, and we had seen relatively no low deer numbers on our property down here. I didn't want to take another deer off of here, and hunting Michigan in December, the likelihood of shooting a buck, not great. So I figured we'll go up north for the weekend, and we'll hit some big public land, and with 5 minutes left to go in the trip, and my family goes through 2 or 3 deer a year pretty easily.
Yep.
And I only had one in the freezer, and 5 minutes left to hunt. I had a 1.5-year-old 6-point come through, and I was like, man, perfect. I'm going home with venison. And so if that law was in place, that, the enjoyment of calling my buddies and saying, hey, I got a buck, we're gonna be eating venison tonight, that wouldn't happen. But the other side of that is potentially in a couple of years, the whole thing could balance itself out, right? And that 6-point potentially could have been a 3.5-year-old 8-point, right?
Right. Yes, so, that's exactly the reasons that you're saying are exactly why I think a lot of people are up in the air about it.
Right.
This has been a fight that's been going on for a long time, and a lot of passionate people on both sides of the coin, and I'm probably later to the party than most on this issue, just because before I started here, I didn't, it wasn't going to change how I hunted, right? I knew I didn't want to, shoot year and a half for spikes. That's just not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And if someone wanted to do that, that's their prerogative. And I fully support them. But I totally understand the side that says, I don't know if I can get on board with that.
Right.
So I can see both sides of the argument. The one thing I will say is I've been to a couple NRC meetings, which is like the Natural Resource Commission, and they're kind of who has the final say. They get recommendations from the
so
Michigan DNR.
The DNR only has a percentage of the input.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So the DNR will make recommendations to the NRC, and then the NRC will vote on it if they want to take up those recommendations. So the DNR actually did recommend that they implement antler point restrictions in the TB zone, which is in the northeast part of the state.
Okay.
But the NRC just didn't feel like they had enough scientific support to back that. And I don't know if that was necessarily the case or not, but
right.
That's the
what
decision
happened.
that was made. So
yeah, there's definitely some disgruntled individuals. Read through all the all the stuff, and I'm just trying to take it all in and make my own personal decision. But
it's hard to get any like real concrete information though from Facebook.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
I follow those two. I try to keep up with them, but it's just
right.
How do you keep up with all? I can't. You can't.
No.
I know on a personal level, I have property in that northeast corner of the state, and we practice QDMA, and I can say full-heartedly that a buck has not been shot off that property in the 8 years I've owned it, because we just never see any big bucks. But there's literally no agriculture.
Right.
And our woods is a very mature stand of wood. We got trees that are 80 to 100 feet tall. And now actually, as we speak, I have guys up there selective cutting the whole property.
Cool. Good.
So hopefully in like 3 years, I'll have a different story to tell, So.
That'd be cool.
That's perfect. That takes us right out of that because we spent enough time on that. And a more critical thing, and pretty much unanimously from anyone that I talk to, is habitat.
Yeah.
And you're going that step right now. And that I think I've hunted that area too and a lot of other areas in the state. And one of the problems with that area, yes, there's a lot of deer, but it's all mature forest and they don't have very good cover.
There is nowhere to hide. You can stand down on the forest floor and just see 100 yards away from you because it's like walking through a national park, It's just...
Yeah, you can see through the woods. There's not going to be any deer in there.
No. We've got like one little herd of like 6. It'll be a couple doe and then like usually one deer has twin yearlings, so there's a couple yearlings and then like 4 1.5 to 5-year-old doe walking around. I try to shoot one of those every year, so...
And they're probably in the best shape out of any deer around the whole state because all they do is run around.
Yeah.
They just run from here to there to there.
Right.
It's like a pinball machine for them. There's not that thick. There's not a lot of thick swamp. But you guys are trying to change that.
Yep. Yeah. I forget. They measured it in like basal area is how the forester explained the timber stand to me. And like a standard northern Michigan forest should be able to support like 60 to 80 basal area, and ours was somewhere up around like 130. So, I mean, we were just way on the opposite end of the spectrum. So
what is that? I've never heard that term before.
The surface, like if you cut all your stumps, I forget, like it's like knee high or something. It's the surface area of the stump, the stumpage, and I'll probably screw up the specifics, but they take like a quadrant of land and they measure the surface area of all the stumps if you cut the trees right down knee high, and that's how they measure it's the basal surface area.
So they're just essentially saying that there's just way too much timber?
Yeah, the trees are too big. The forest, the soil can't support a forest.
I see. It can't supply the nutrients to support that broad of a big of a canopy.
So all of your nutrients are going up into the canopy as opposed to having actual browse or bedding or anything for the deer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've come to gather that too. All the food's out, or all the food, all the cover, everything's what, 60 to 100 feet out of reach
It was
for whitetail.
Right.
It was cool to see. The forester has this little it was a little prism that had a bunch of numbers written on it, and he would hold it up to his eye and measure. He was measuring certain trees and then writing it down on a notepad.
Really?
And then he had this little equation that he used to figure it all out, and that's how they structured our whole selective cutoff of it.
So he's walking around the woods measuring all your...
Yeah, you just every once in a while he would
Yeah.
stop and just spin around in a 360 degrees, holding this little yellow prism up to his eye, and he was writing stuff down in a notepad, and then
I think it's all show. He's just doing it. Like,
yeah, who knows
we'll
what
just
he
tell
was
these
doing.
guys.
Makes it look like he's doing a lot
yeah,
of work.
maybe it was one of those little like cartoon things where you could click it and a little picture would change, but I bought it,
It makes sense. And we've had a lot of discussion about it. And I think one of the things about timber stand improvement in general is that a lot of people don't want to see the landscape change. It's pretty dramatic to see a beautiful, mature forest. It's one of the nicest things you can spend time in.
Right.
And then to see that cut down, people can have a hard time with that. But the fact of the matter is, that's what deer and other wildlife unanimously need.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely not just deer. I mean, it's all, turkeys and upland birds, and they all need that cover. And, without it, they're not going to be there.
Right.
right.
And,
I haven't got to actually lay eyes on it yet. I got to admit I'm a little hesitant
Right.
about what I'm gonna pull down the road and see, because I know there's gonna be some shell shock to the whole thing, but
Yeah, it's my in-laws have 10 acres up in Kalkaska, and like along one of the roads that we go up to get there, they've been clear cutting that area for a number of years now. And the first time we drove by it, and there's like a whole stand of pine trees, and I was like, holy cow, like that's crazy.
yeah.
But
Right.
when you look into it a little further, I mean, it's only going to help
Right.
the animals in that
Right.
area. So
Yeah, definitely all the but I mean, I was always had a negative opinion on it just based on the visual effects of the landscape.
Right.
But the more and more research that I do about how critical it is, wildfire basically is an essential thing too. We don't really deal with that, I guess, in the Midwest, not like they do out west.
Right.
But out west, those landscapes kind of that happens through fire.
naturally, yeah.
Whereas out here, we have to take it upon ourselves
Right.
to.
Does QDMA have anybody that would come out to your property and give you like a prescribed burn, write a plan or anything like that, or?
We have a bunch of biologists and foresters that work for us.
Mhm.
And we'll do like educational seminars and things like that. But typically, if you're going to have someone come out and do it, we'd recommend that you go to your state agency or
All right.
go to the DNR website, and you can look up a forester and things like that there.
Mhm.
But we definitely have like foresters and biologists on staff. They just don't necessarily go out to a property and give a
Right.
consult.
That was one thing I was wondering if I should do now, because I'm already cutting the trees. Should I just do the burn now and just make it the ultimate eyesore and get it out of the way? So
Burn your property on fire.
Yeah.
I could see how that would be a tough pill to swallow.
yeah.
Where do you do most of your hunting? I know you just
I-
mentioned that there's some spots up in Kalkaska, and
Yeah,
don't be too specific.
Yeah,
Don't
no.
give your GPS coordinates away. But
Well, I don't have any great places to go, so I'm not too worried about that. But I did have a lease around my house I live in Brighton, which is just north of Ann Arbor, for anybody that's not familiar with the area. And I had a lease about 5 minutes from my house, which was nice to be that close. But
oh yeah,
I don't have that this year, so I'm scrambling a little bit around there to find something. And I do some hunting down the southern part of the state, and then the northern part of the state, Kalkaska. I haven't hunted much up there. I'd go out, and we're up there for Thanksgiving or whatever. I'll go out this afternoon and sit with my rifle or whatever. And
right.
I never see anything. I've had some trail camera pictures of a couple nice bucks up there, but no, never seen one on the hoof. But I'm hoping now, this new job, a little bit more flexibility, I can get out there a little bit more and hunt a little bit more up there and check it out.
Awesome.
It is
Um,
getting better, because
Yeah.
I think the more too, people see the where the big bucks in the state are shot, and they're seeing all these southern counties. It's drawing all the people over to those counties, like Kent and all them. But now when you're going up 75 the day before rifle season opens, it used to be a parking lot,
Right.
and now you just shoot right up there.
Right.
And you'll see, you got your 50, 60, 70-year-old guys that have been coming up there for their whole life, still holding on to the tradition.
You still got your historical
you go
camps up there for rifle season and stuff.
If you're willing to walk 300 yards off the road, you're going to be past any other person up there really anymore.
Yep. Yeah, and I probably do the majority of my hunting then down in Ohio.
Do you?
We have a lease down in Ohio. I actually share one with Mark.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I knew he did.
Yeah.
I knew he hunted down there, and I wasn't certain if it was with you or somebody else.
Yep.
But
Yep. So that's where I probably do the majority of my hunting. But I don't own any land. I don't have any, specific, I don't have any, other than those 10 acres up north, I don't have any family that has any land or any farmland or anything like that. So I just got the Onyx maps a couple of weeks ago. So I'm trying to put together a list and do some door knocking here before the season starts and try to secure another spot or two and find some access.
So handy to have, man.
Yep.
It's great. I kind of have it always minimized on my work laptop when I should be doing like reports or something.
Right.
Because we're going down. This is going to be my first time ever venturing over the border to go hunt in Ohio. So It's all foreign to me, So I've been trying to just take in as much of the maps as possible.
Yep.
And we went down there to one area and did some scouting, and we found quite a bit of sign, but that's not the area I'm even going to hunt. I'm going to hunt with 2 other guys in an area they went and scouted. I've never been to, so
cool.
We'll just see how it works out.
What part of the state?
It's southeast.
Okay. All right.
what's some of the? I guess one of the things too here in Michigan is hunter density, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know I beat the daylights out of the door on Michigan here on the podcast, but I mean that's kind of my sample size,
right?
And it's kind of a hotbed, and it has, I think, per capita. I don't know if it is the most. Is it the most deer hunter?
It's right in the top. I don't know if it's the top
like us
or not,
in
but
PA
it's
are
like
always
us,
kind of
Pennsylvania, or right.
Yeah,
right
you said it best a couple of years ago. I said something about, man, there's a lot of Pennsylvania people online that I just generally see that I would get along with, and you said, yeah, it's because they have shitty deer hunting and they all like to drink beer. We would all we share a couple common things, and the more and more I saw that, there's truth to that.
Yeah, I think Pennsylvania is probably the state that we compare most to in terms of hunter density and also like hunter tradition.
Right.
It's kind of very similar. I mean, people always want to look at Ohio and Indiana and Illinois as because we're like right here, but Pennsylvania is probably the closest in terms of what Michigan and would be like in terms of
that's what
density and deer numbers and things like that.
I knew a couple guys that hunt down there, but I personally have never been down there. I'd like to go down there.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
Check it out.
Yep.
They have a little more topography, I think, than what we do, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. I think.
Yeah, it's definitely
kind of getting the Appalachians run through there, skirted or something. I've only driven through Pennsylvania maybe once or twice. I haven't spent really any time up there at all. So.
Is there anything that you've picked up? How long you had the job now?
2.5 months. I started May 1st.
Oh.
So, still really new.
Yeah, real new.
So.
But by the time the fall rolls around, do you
Mm-hmm.
think is there anything that you've picked up on so far that'll kind of change your approach this fall to how you look at some things or maybe interact or even change up some of your specific hunting tactics now? Like, I mean, I got to imagine in 2 months of doing a job that's specific to essentially whitetail deer hunting.
Right. Yeah, I haven't spent – a lot of my time hasn't been spent on like, everyone wants to think it's, oh, man, you just do deer hunting stuff all day long. I mean, yes, but it's like more of like a business role. It's almost like a sales role, but I'm not selling like a product. I'm selling like a theory or a philosophy.
Right.
And so like I've spent a lot of my time just kind of, on the road getting out and meeting people and things like that. But I have started to take our Deer Steward 1 class. I don't know if you guys have heard that before.
I saw it on the website. I was kind of looking it over. Before you got here.
It's like a whole educational series that we offer, and we've got some like the top biologists and wildlife professionals that, do it. You can either take it in person or online.
Right.
So I'm taking it online right now, and some of like I'm about halfway through it, and some of the biology stuff that they talk about is just like fascinating, just like the deer in general and like how they just their makeup, like things that I would have never really paid attention to. I've only been hunting since I was 20, 21. So I'm still really new to hunting, and I've got all kinds of things I'm still learning, and just, I was focusing so much on like the hunting side of things. I never really paid much attention to like the biological makeup and different things that affect what they do. So I think if anything, this year I'm going to pay more attention to, their feeding patterns and things like that, and try to implement that more into my strategy. But I'm looking forward to finishing that class. We're just getting into like some timber stand improvement today, and just started talking a little bit about what you were talking about.
So as like a general hunter, would you recommend like that's worth the money? People take that stewardship?
I mean, I would say so. I'm not through it yet, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. If you've got Joe Hamilton, who's the founder of QDMA, is one of the speakers. You've got Dr. Carl Miller, Craig Harper, Brian Murphy, our CEO. I mean, you've just got Kip Adams, like guy after guy after guy after guy who's just, straight up professionals and know exactly what they're talking about, like teaching you. I mean, they're right there in your computer telling you exactly what you need to know. And
so it's all online.
Yep, the one I'm taking is all online.
Anybody can do it.
Yep, you can be a member or not a member, but if you're a member, you get a little bit of a discount on the price.
Do you know what the cost is?
I don't.
I'm
not
was
sure.
$200 for a non-member, and like it was either $150 or $175 for a member. I can't remember.
So it's online videos.
Yeah, it said it was, from the description I read, it was like a pre-recorded class. So you watch something, and
they
maybe
took a video of one of the
online
or like the live sessions, and then so it's like it's reading material that's supplements different PowerPoint presentations, and then you've got videos, YouTube videos of they're all about an hour long or so, and there's 6 sessions, I think, 6 or 7
sessions. You're doing
sessions.
this right now.
Yep, I'm taking it right now.
How long? I mean, like, how much content is it? How long does it take to do?
Well,
is it like a week thing or a month thing?
They pack it all into like if you're gonna do it in person, it's like a 3 or 4 day thing. Like they do like a long.
So it's a lot
thing.
of.
So it's a lot of content. Each session's probably 4 to 5 videos, and each one's about an hour long.
Wow.
So each session's probably 4 to 5 hours, 6 hours of content. Wow. So it's a ton of stuff to take in, but it's
as far
pretty
as
impressive.
Dollars per minute go, you're probably winning.
Oh yeah, you're getting a lot for your money.
I didn't even know that existed.
I didn't until a couple hours ago when I was reading up on it.
And then there's also, so if you finish that one, then you can take Deer Steward 2, which is like a more in-depth, hands-on. That's not online. That's only in person. And actually, one of the Michigan branches is hosting that in September, which is pretty cool.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Where at?
In Berry County, like the kind of Hastings area, if you're familiar. It's like south of Grand Rapids a little bit.
Okay.
Kind of.
All right.
Down that way.
There was another thing. It was land certification that I saw. I was kind of curious on what that program was.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know a ton on that program yet. I haven't been. I don't think it's something huge that we do, but I could get you in touch with like Matt Ross or somebody like that who kind of takes care of all our programs.
It really doesn't apply to me probably at all, but it was just one of those things I saw, and I didn't know if maybe it was more towards like it's people with bigger lots of land.
Yeah, it's basically people with like property that, they have like habitat plans and things like that, and if they do, they've got to meet different criteria, and if they do that, they get like a certified lands kind of designation. I got to look more into it. That hasn't been
I'm sure
one of my top priorities.
Probably bragging rights between people, but
but it's all to help improve habitat for your deer hunting and things like that. So definitely, there's a lot of different things that we offer, and there, I haven't even been up to speed on all of them yet because I've been trying to focus on the things that I got to learn that's going to directly affect my day-to-day job first, and then
conference.
A week conference, and then on vacation for a couple weeks. I've got a lot to learn still, and I'll be the first to admit that. But it's been fun, but I still got a long way to go.
So are you telling me you don't want to go back to doing mortgages?
No.
Because I heard mortgages are doing really good right now.
Yeah. It was a happening business, that's for sure. But
so
just not my thing.
Did anything big or revolutionary come out of the convention, or?
Yes and no. I mean, we had some, it was a fun week. We had a staff meeting while we were down there and kind of talked about like the direction that we're going. And there's a lot of it's like an exciting time to be a part of this organization.
What, just real quick, just to go back, explain what just happened and what the convention is exactly, the history of it. I don't know that much about it until this year. Social media really helped bring it to the forefront, and up until this year, I don't even know that I knew that was an event.
Yep. So they have every year. QDMA has a convention, and this was their 17th annual convention, and it was in New Orleans, and so basically it's like a Thursday through Sunday kind of thing, and this year it was in conjunction with the Louisiana Sportsman's Expo, so it's like like the Outdoor Rama or whatever that's here in Michigan.
Oh, okay. So that was going on.
That was going on as kind of a part of our convention. So we got in like Monday and did some setting up for it and everything, and then the actual convention started Thursday. And basically what it is, it's Thursday morning is we had like a branch leadership series. So all the branch leaders, so presidents, vice presidents, secretaries, treasurers of the branches, they're able to come in and get like a kind of like an exclusive branch leadership. What can we do to help you guys? What sort of educational activities are you looking for? Or here's some ideas that this branch does really well that may help you. So it's kind of like a roundtable discussion, and they had like some panels where you could ask questions. So that was really cool. And then we kind of got started with like educational seminars. So we had all kinds of, this was my first convention, but everyone's saying this is like the best set of speakers that we've ever had. So, I mean, we had, I made a list here of some of the people because I didn't get to go to hardly any of them because I was working the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we had Dr. Craig Harper, Dr. Gino D'Angelo, Dr. Mickey Hellickson, Dr. Bronson Strickland. Melissa Bachman is a new board member of ours, and she gave the keynote address in our general session on Friday. Mark Kenyon and Dan did they recorded a podcast in one of their sessions. It was like planning a DIY out-of-state trip.
Someone did it with them too, correct?
Yep, they had a guest by the name of Andy May on there with him, and he's a Michigan guy.
Yeah, so he's done a lot of outdoor writing.
Yep.
He's a pretty well
kind of got a chuckle writer. When I saw the pictures on social media of them doing the podcast, looking at the crowd. I was like, I wonder how many people actually know what a podcast is.
I thought you were going to bring up Mark Sandals.
No.
Oh, gee. He always gets flack for something on there.
Hey, I'm not giving him a hard time. If I was down in New Orleans is pretty hot, right?
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't think twice about wearing flip-flops either.
It was warm, so... But yeah, it was good. And then so like Friday, we had educational seminars every day, and they were typically in the mornings and the afternoon. And then Friday we had like this like general session. So we had like I said, Melissa Bachman was a keynote speaker, and she talked about introducing kids into the outdoors or being a mentor to new hunters and things like that. And then I don't know if you guys know the name Tovar Cerulli. I'm probably going to say his last name wrong.
The name sounds familiar only because it's such a unique name. I've definitely heard it before.
He is the author of the book The Mindful Carnivore. And basically, a little Cliff Note version of him is he used to be like a vegetarian.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I think they had him on Rogan or something, didn't they?
He may have been, but he was like against hunting or didn't understand it, and then he kind of started to, all right, well, I like, sourcing my own food and all this stuff. Like, I've got a lot more in common with hunters than, a lot of other people. And so he tried it, and then he's been like a avid hunter ever since. And he gave a really interesting speech about how we can, we've got a lot more in common with environmentalists and things like that we may see as the enemy, but they're really not, the enemy. These are the people that we need to get on the same page with and not have these walls up in between us because, we're such a dwindling part of the population.
Man, I cannot. I feel really strongly about that too. And something that, not to get off topic, but this is on topic, but this happened to me last night. There was a girl on Facebook. I was up late having a hard time falling asleep, and I'm just reading through some stuff, and she was saying she was watching a documentary on factory farming and that she's going vegan. And I thought, I probably shouldn't say anything, but I can't help it. And I said, have you ever thought about, hunting? And she said, I'm not against hunting at all, but I know nothing about it. And she just said, the effect, all the stuff of the documentary, and I've watched all those documentaries, and they can make them look pretty evil, but there is no doubt going out into the wild and getting your own food is if you want to have low impact and you want to eat clean and have a healthy lifestyle, I don't know that it's beatable.
Yeah, there's not much any.
And I told her, I said, hey, if you want to try some wild game or you need some information on how to go about this, it's a plausible remedy for what you're looking to achieve. And she wrote me some stuff back, and I'm gonna actively pursue that. She at least give it a shot, because though, like you just said, those are the people that we really, really need to reach.
Right, and that's actually one of the things we talked a lot about down at our convention and our staff meetings and the general sessions and everything. Excuse me, is about sharing venison and sharing wild game is like one of the top and most productive ways to introduce people into hunting and what it's all about. And the more that we can do that, the better. We did some survey recently to QDMA members about did you share any venison or whatever, and it was like a staggering amount of people said yes.
Right.
And so like one of our goals over the coming years is to keep increasing the number of meals that are shared with people not in your immediate family, and that can help spread awareness and help
plant the seed.
Right, exactly. And kind of on that then is also getting people that a lot of people think like getting kids into hunting is the best way to do it, and that's going to be what helps continue to grow hunting numbers. And to an extent, yes, but I think a larger segment of people that we need to look at is kind of those adult onset hunters. These are the people that have the financial means to, you take a kid out and they have a great time hunting, but they don't have the financial means to go do that on their own. Right. It's got to be a parent or something like that, and if their parents don't hunt, that makes it a challenge. You've got to have a mentor.
That was a big point that Jason Meekoff did a podcast with us a couple weeks ago. It's probably been a month ago now, but he's actually the Michigan chairman for our backcountry.
Yep, I know Jason. We've had a couple conversations together.
And he's definitely on that same wavelength where he's like, you don't need to get my kid into hunting.
Right.
My kid will, I'm going to do that.
Right.
You need to focus on all the people whose parents don't hunt and try to drag them into it.
And really, I mean, it's like me. I mean, that's how I was. I was an adult onset hunter. I finished college, and I was looking for something to do, and I'd gone out hunting a time or two in high school with a friend, and I liked it. I grew up fishing. I grew up camping. I liked the outdoors, but I just wasn't in a family that hunted. I never had anything against it.
Right.
So neither
neither my parents were in it, and so I didn't grow up doing it. I always had an interest in it, and was intrigued by it, but just didn't have the opportunity to do it. And so once I finished college, my buddy Mark got me out. I expressed some interest in it, and I dove right in. And those are the kind of people that we've got to look at. That they have a mentor or someone that takes them out or teaches them about it, but then they can go out and do it the next day on their own.
Right.
Or at least they would have the financial means to at least get started, or the wherewithal to at least kind of pick it up and take it from there. Whereas a kid, they're totally reliant on a ride to the woods or someone buying all their stuff. So I think that's a lot what Tovar was talking about too, is and that's one of the things that QDMA is looking at doing, is how can we interact more with these localvores or things like that, people that want to source their own food, and they're kind of the
Did you call them localvores?
Localvores, yeah.
I've never heard that term.
Oh, really?
No.
Like people that will want to eat local, everything is sourced locally.
Interesting.
So one of the hunting heritage kind of program director at QDMA is he took he went with a friend to a farmer's market, and they set up a booth there where they were handing out venison samples, and their goal was to sign up 8 people to go on their first deer hunt. And he said within a couple hours they had 25 people sign up.
No kidding.
So they had this huge wait list of people. They could only take 8, or that was their goal. So they're going to try to keep expanding on that in years to come. But it was kind of just like a pilot. Like, all right, let's see how this goes. And it was a huge success.
I'm struggling to remember the name. Jason brought it up. The guy that has the deep voice and the older gentleman with
Shane Mahoney.
the subtle tones of Shane Mahoney. Yeah. But he said something that hit me quite a bit. That it's real common for people that hunt and acquire game to share it.
Right.
But you would never buy a pot roast at the store and then
take it to your neighbors.
Pull it out of your freezer and take it over to your neighbor and be like, hey,
like that'd be
got
weird.
You a pot.
Right?
Yeah, they'd be like, what the hell, man? Like, I didn't lose my job or my kids aren't starving. I don't get it.
But you bring over like venison jerky or something, or like
fish.
Like, oh man, this is sweet.
Yeah,
people love it.
Fish.
I know. Every year I take some to work, and it just like disappears
like that.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is definitely a passionate lifestyle because the people that I've brought into it, I had some friends that grew up in the city that didn't have the opportunity to do that, and they've all shot bigger deer than me now, and moved to properties that have live basically where they can deer hunt, and they just they're just so drawn to it, and it's hard to argue that. Like, take the vegan thing for instance. You can look at a field right outside this door here that's a field full of soybeans, and that's great. It provides some food for wildlife habitat right now and for people if you want to eat soy-based protein. But come fall, when that all gets combined, that whole piece of property gets turned into essentially a desert.
Right.
It doesn't support wildlife. But if that's well-structured wildlife habitat, and I go in there and I take 1 deer, it's irrational for somebody to look at me and think I'm the bad guy.
Right.
Because I went and took 1 deer. Well, it's like, hey, I just saved this piece of property that is, can now be inhabited by 13 other deer plus turkey and squirrel and everything else. So the thought process is a little bit skewed that if you're just going to eat soybeans, you're doing your part to lessen your impact. It doesn't really hold up.
I know. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever understand that mindset of like a.
I wish we need to get a vegan to come sit in here.
It
like 2 vegans.
It might be a tough sell.
Yeah, there's some level-headed ones.
And if they want to do that, by all means,
I get it.
You can do it.
Well, they're trying to.
But then don't impose your thoughts and your beliefs on me if this is what I want to do.
The crazy thing is how close vegans and hunters are trying to accomplish, I think, the same goal. It's like we're right there, but we just can't bridge that barrier.
Yeah. I don't know the right answer to that.
Maybe it's starting to happen. Maybe I don't know if social media is a good or a bad thing. Like last night, I was like, should I even mention on a vegan feed that I'm a hunter and I got a good idea? I'm thinking this could really.
Social media is like the double-edged sword of all double-edged swords. I mean, it's so good for so many things, but just like one wrong thing,
it's great.
That goes viral, then it can be so bad too. So it's like hard to find.
It's great because you can reach literally millions of people, but it's bad because you can literally reach millions of people. So
I kind of had a thought a while back that now in this modern landscape of social media, I think it's a testimony to you being an adult when you don't comment negatively on posts. When you can look at them and just walk past them, but,
it's hard sometimes.
You don't get sucked into the trap.
And you can imagine being 14 and not knowing any better. I mean, we didn't have that problem when it was kind of just coming about. Yep. But, for the younger generation, they don't understand that. That's what I was saying. It's like an adult thing when you can not negatively comment on.
I tell my wife all the time, I'm glad we didn't go through high school and Facebook was around.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a time sucker. I mean, it's so nice for so many things, but then like.
It is.
Okay, geez, I've spent how much time on this now? It's like, I got other things to do. but also it's like if you're not there, you're missing like
You
reaching
could
such a huge audience of people.
Well, backcountry hunters and anglers, I had heard it before, but I'll credit Mark to posting that there was a backcountry hunters and anglers meetup, a pint night, and there was a traditional archery expo going on over there that same weekend too, and I thought, that sounds awesome. I'll go to the expo, and then I'll go meet Mark, and go to this BHA thing, and before I even got to the meetup at the expo, BHA had a booth. And it was the first place that I walked over to. And if I had missed that post on Facebook, I potentially might have not engaged in that entire weekend.
Right.
So like you were just saying, it is a double-edged sword. You could burn a lot of time on there, but you could also potentially miss something that could change your life.
I mean, you have to be there. You have to be on it if you want to have any sort of, success in reaching our age group of people or younger. Even though people are our parents' age. I mean, my parents are on Facebook more than I am probably. I mean, it's everyone just spends so much time on it that if you're not there, you're missing out. I mean, you have to be there if you want to get the word out.
Right.
So
yeah.
But
what else on the? Let's go back to what they call it, DeerCon, right?
Yeah, it's like a new thing that kind of like
DeerCon. I kind of like it.
Comic-Con,
DeerCon.
So they try to get that hashtag going. I think
they
it's
got
pretty
that
successful.
going. They got Melissa Bachman going. They're working in the right direction.
I think we're working in the right direction here. And so the rest of Friday was just some more more educational seminars. The expo opened up, and we had a handful of industry celebrities that kind of came to our booth that we work with closely. Like some of the Duck Commander guys are there. Melissa Bachman is there. Cuz Strickland with Mossy Oak was there.
Yeah.
He's on our board of directors now too, which is nice. And then kind of Saturday was just, again, there's some panel discussions for the attendees to interact with. We had they did like a cooking seminar, like Creole cooking or down that area, New Orleans cooking class. It was kind of cool. And then that Saturday night, then we had like our big banquet, kind of to wrap it all up. And it was a really successful weekend. I think everyone that came down had a lot of fun. And
is the whole event open to the general public?
The convention you have to register for, but it is open. If you guys wanted to register, you come down.
Okay.
So.
So you can't just show up on the door.
Right, you'd have to register, but you could register at the door if you wanted to.
Oh, okay.
But we had to expand our hotel block several different times. So, if someone was going to just show up, they'd have a hard time getting a hotel room in the area or something.
I got you.
Unless they were coming from from the area.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Why did they pick? Is it every year in New Orleans?
They move it around.
Okay.
So like last year,
gotcha.
the last 2 years, I think it was in Louisville. It's been I don't even know where all it's been. It's been all over the place. It's been in Georgia a couple times. And then this year and next year it'll be in New Orleans again next year.
Tell them to bring the thing to Traverse City.
I was just saying that to someone up there. I go, man, we should do it in Traverse City. That'd be cool.
It would be.
They did it in Grand Rapids one of the first couple years over in Grand Rapids.
Is New Orleans, is that a hotbed for, it's not really a big deer hunting.
Louisiana is actually like second in the nation in terms of membership.
Is it really?
Numbers of members.
Oh,
yeah. There's
okay.
Deer hunting is pretty big down there.
I didn't know that.
So I don't either. I guess I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, they're so quiet about it.
Right.
It must be good then.
Right, and I'm always so focused on the Midwest. I never,
Right.
I've never really had much desire to go down south and hunt deer when it's 80 degrees in November or whatever. But it's just a different.
And there's a lot of stuff around that would kill you.
Exactly. But yeah, it's like a hotbed. Like there, Alabama, Georgia. I mean, it's all pretty decent deer hunting down there.
Yeah.
A lot of deer hunters anyway. So. But yeah, who knows where it'll be after next year? They kind of move it around to kind of keep hitting some different spots. So.
Did you get to go to the Wired to Hunt meetup?
I did go to that. Was that Thursday night? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Thursday night. Friday night. It was Friday night. That was good. A little turnout down there, and Mark put me in charge of finding a bar down there to go to, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll have plenty of time to go find a bar, and we barely made it out at all.
You were busy.
We were busy, just getting stuff set up, and we had to unpack semis and stuff to get the expo all set up. And
Oh my gosh.
we were work. I mean, we did not get to go to any of the seminars or anything like that, but I knew that going in, so I was prepared for it. But I was like, all right, I might get a little time to go out and find a bar. But I was like, I'm not going to find it. So I just got on Yelp, and I was just looking at it. So I was like, all right, this one sounds good. Ended up working out fine, but it was a good turnout, and it was fun.
I would figure in New Orleans it wouldn't be too hard to find
No.
a quality drinking
you can
establishment.
take a stone and hit about 5 of them probably. I mean, every other on Bourbon Street, every other establishment's a bar.
Right.
So, but it was fun. We had a good time. It's cool to be at a convention down there with him and kind of be, doing the same thing. It's cool.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah, no kidding. Is there anything else that you personally kind of took away from the?
Probably the biggest thing for me was just kind of like where we're at as an organization and where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
We're just kind of starting to roll some stuff out, so I can't really go into any details yet because I don't have, it's just a quick PowerPoint presentation. But it's exciting to be involved with an organization that knows what they want to do and sees how they're going to get there and has clear defined goals and what we want to do and what we want to try to accomplish. And there's some good things coming from QDMA.
Great.
I think it's going to be a great couple of years for us and trying to reach these goals. And one of the things that I haven't really talked about much was just like kind of our commitment to like science and helping with the research and things like that.
That's great.
That's one of the biggest things that we do, and I'd be missing a huge step if I didn't talk about that. But we've in Michigan actually there's a CWD panel coming up in October, and Kip Adams is one of the guys from QDMA, and he's going to be sitting on that panel. And so we spend a lot of time and money and resources on research and looking at EHD and CWD and the different diseases that affect our deer herd. And then our magazine is all like science-based research. I mean, it's not, it's one of the best publications out there in terms of deer hunting related news and science and things like that. And that comes bi-monthly, so you get 6 issues a year as a member. And it's top of the line magazine.
My one buddy, his family's been members of QDMA for quite some time. They have a farm up in the Thumb, and I actually called them to say, hey, you got any questions for this guy? We're talking to him tonight. And one of the things he brought up is the state says that you can't put a mineral site out before September 15th, yet everything you read in QDMA and whatnot is 60% of antler growth happens between June and August, and the whole point of the mineral station is supposed to, obviously we know it not to be 100% accurate, but is to promote antler growth. Do you know if there's anything going on with the state on trying to get that?
I don't.
All right, or if there's actually any science to these
And it's an odd
mineral
thing too, because although you can't use mineral, you can't have mineral stations.
It's got to be within 100 yards of your house.
You can have feed stations.
Right.
So if you want to watch wildlife within 100 yards of your house, you can have it out, which I don't understand. Why would you do that when...
Right.
And I understand the theory against it is that we don't want to congregate deer to an area, especially, I mean, you just touched on CWD. If you have a mineral station and you bring a deer in that has CWD, they're toast. It's a bad deal. So I get why they say against it.
I understand why the state says, hey, you can't do this. But then at the same time, you got
But then why do they
huge companies promoting like, throw this mineral down, your deer will grow huge antlers, blah blah blah. It's they're done growing by that point.
Yeah.
So
each state has their different regulations. I know in some states you can, some states you can't.
Right.
And, you can walk into any store pretty much probably in any state and buy something that's illegal to do in that state. So it's just so important to know like your regulations and what you can and can't do before you start going out and doing things. So
blows my mind going back to social media, all the people on Instagram and Facebook that are in Michigan that are putting out mineral stations and selling, promoting you to buy mineral. And I'm thinking, man, the DNR could make a quick couple bucks just going through these Facebook feeds on people putting out mineral in the state of Michigan and just showing right up at their house and writing them tickets. I'm just surprised how bold people are.
Yeah, I don't think it's bold. I think people just don't understand the difference.
Misinformed. Yeah, they don't know the rules probably.
Right.
Is what and back to the CWD thing is, I don't know how many people you see driving. They hunt out of state and they bring their whole deer carcass back in the bed of their truck.
Yeah,
that's so illegal to do right now.
Yep, that was a big thing.
Yeah,
I had to make clear to the guys I was going down there with. It's like, we can't bring them back.
And people just don't know. I mean, there's just that hasn't been something that's been talked about a lot.
The DNR just bought a billboard at the Ohio border.
Yep. I know they're.
I'm sure so many people are going to be like, "Hey, what did that say?"
And I know the UP has been preaching that for a while. Because with them touching Wisconsin, a lot of those guys go to Wisconsin to hunt.
Gosh, I didn't even think about that.
I mean, Wisconsin is like the hotbed for CWD, right? I mean,
you're not even. I never even thought about that coming from Wisconsin to the UP. Yeah. It never even crossed my mind just because it's such a great distance.
There's groups up there that have bought radio time and billboards, and they've done a lot to try to bring that awareness up.
But now it's just this year it happened, right, where they made it illegal, right?
It might have been last year.
I think it's like the last couple of years you couldn't do it.
Oh, okay.
If I was a taxidermist in the greater Toledo area, I would be advertising the shit out of that personally, because everybody driving through there would be like, I gotta take this deer here. I don't.
Right.
How many people honestly know how to completely cape out their deer taxidermy quality for a shoulder mount?
I couldn't do it.
No, I do European mounts. I don't even mess around.
Yeah, I can cape it out up to the neck, but I'm not going near the face.
Right. So, I think taxidermists along I-75 should be throwing up billboards. For sure.
You're right.
I know it's been illegal to bring back a whole carcass for a while, but I think they're starting to even crack down on, like, you can bring back deboned meat, but you can't bring back any sort of.
You can bring quartered.
It just can't contain any.
It's changing though.
They just, from my understanding. Because I actually went to Lansing a couple weeks ago and sat down with Chad Stewart, the whitetail biologist.
Okay,
and he told me it is legal to bring quartered meat or deboned meat. It is not legal to bring the head with any brain matter or the spinal column under any circumstance. So you can have quartered meat, but
I think they've been getting a lot of questions on that because I think it hasn't been very clear in the regulation.
Well, we have a friend that was sitting in here with us last weekend. They're all going to Ohio. He's very organized. He actually has an entire binder for his deer hunting season that he keeps all notes and things. And he's like, what? What did you say? What are you telling me? And for him to not know, and I gather it because I didn't know until I was in Lansing a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not something that's talked about for whatever reason. I don't know why. I mean, that should be.
Well, there's so many regulations and rules, and things change relatively quickly. And CWD is such a concern that things are happening at a pretty fast clip.
Right.
And people are busy. I don't. I can say personally, I'm gonna do it this year. But I never have just sat down and read through the entire reg book, So much things change so quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast stuff changes.
Yeah.
Being a part of some of these NRC meetings, it's, they're trying to get stuff through so quick so they can get their, the pamphlets printed out for this year. I mean, it's just, there's so much stuff changes so quickly. And even things that are in the book could have changed.
Right.
So, I mean, I would even go online and make sure that you're reading through the stuff online because that's going to be the most up-to-date thing.
At least Michigan just released theirs it was in the last couple days that you can actually go online and get the PDF for the hunting regulations for this season coming up. So all that stuff should be clarified in there.
One of the, I guess, in my head when I started doing this is what's going to be my mission. Essentially, this has taken up some time and some money. It's super enjoyable. We've had a blast doing it. But I thought in my head that I would try to focus more on, and I'm just a blue collar plumber working every day, all week long, have a family, super busy, but and I want to bring it back to what you were just talking about, the fact that the QDMA wants to stand behind science. And I thought, that's going to be the basis for my platform here. I don't have a great understanding of all this stuff, but I'm going to do my part to attempt to do a better job. And science gets less and less support. It seems like right now, even in our broad political atmosphere, they could say, hey, might want to stop doing that. It's having negative effects. And we'll say, well, let's just get the public opinion. Nope, we're not going to listen to you. Right. We're going to go with public opinion. Yeah. And that was something when over the winter, I was meeting some people and telling them that I was going to do this. I met with some people from the state, and they all emphasized that they're having a very hard time getting scientific data to be supported by any means. And I thought, God, that's just crazy, you know?
Hunting's such an emotional hobby, everybody's got these. And the whole heritage of it all, it's all so ingrained in everybody, especially in a state like ours where people just don't want to admit to it,
right.
But unfortunately, if you don't admit to certain things,
right,
the heritage could go away.
Oh,
I
know.
mean? So
I agree 100%. And just given the counter argument.
Yeah,
there.
no, I get it.
My thought process was that, hey, if I'm willing to do it, maybe I can try to bridge a gap between just the average everyday guy that I know is working and super busy. Say it's not that difficult just to pick these little pieces and follow these people and read this stuff, and it'll. So much has changed in the last 3 months in my eyes, and just, gaining knowledge from talking to people that are way more educated, have committed their professional careers, and now you're one of them, and you're sitting here talking with us.
Which is still weird, because I still just think of myself as I'm just a normal everyday guy.
Right. Well, you're going to look back.
I'm fortunate enough to work for an organization that is all about deer.
You made that conscious decision.
And they gave you a pretty great title, so
yeah, it looked great on paper.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah. But I'm no different than you two guys sitting here. I'm just a deer hunter. Right. I just enjoy hunting deer and being outdoors, and I'm no different than anybody
glad
else.
you said that, because that's why I named this what I did, deer hunter, because it's a bigger picture. Not a bow hunter, not a gun hunter, not a white collar guy, not a blue collar guy. That one little thing. I mean, you could be at like a barbecue or something with the most boring group of people in the entire world. And if you find that one guy that's a deer hunter,
white hat on, you're like,
I gotta go talk to this guy.
And you guys are buddies. That's like a lifelong friendship, man. It's just it's a good bond. It's a good bond to have.
Totally agree. Yeah, that's and even more from just deer. I mean, even if you're at a barbecue or something, even if someone just enjoys fishing, just being able to connect with someone who enjoys being outdoors. I mean, everything's so similar: fishing, camping, hiking, mountain biking. I mean, you don't have to be a hunter to enjoy the outdoors.
Right.
And I can appreciate anybody that does any of that stuff.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to be outside.
Right.
It's crazy now. Like, I mean, I've got the 2 little kids, and we live in a subdivision, and we'll be out there. It'll be a night like tonight, 83, not very humid, pretty damn nice out.
Yep.
And my kids, my wife and I are like the only people outside. You can see a half mile down the street that way and a half mile down the street this way, and no one's outside. It's like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what's going on with society? Like, it just freaks me out that people, and then I don't know if they look at me like I'm weird because I want to be outside,
Yeah, it's interesting times that we live in.
Yeah.
My wife and I are just talking about cutting the cord to cable. Like, just get rid of it. What do we need it for?
You need internet.
I need internet, but
that's what I did.
I don't need all it.
Right.
Why am I spending all this money on?
They put you in this situation where they're like, well, it's cheaper for you to have a package.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I have cable.
We can talk after the podcast. Yeah. I got ways for you to get around this whole thing. I've been cable free for 2 years now. So.
Yeah, he's pretty tech savvy, so he definitely has.
I'm gonna have to pick your brain on that.
Yeah.
Not to backtrack, but on mineral, I just wanted to say, because I'm sure some people follow me and know that I do have a feed station behind my house, and it sounds like there's a pretty good argument that it is beneficial health-wise for deer, and there's no arguing this. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy that I've been getting it from, who's local here in the state, who I'm going to have on the podcast soon, he went to school for biology. And how it was explained to me is that deer, obviously eating vegetation is their primary diet. A lot of that vegetation contains a high percentage of water. It actually waters their blood down to a level that's unbalanced for them. So that's how they get a lot of sodium content and, whatever else is potentially in there, potassium, magnesium, iron. But the salt, and I know guys that do it. They don't buy mineral. They just go buy softener salt,
right,
and pour a bag of softener salt out, and the deer are all over it. And that's the reason why, is because, that high water in their diet dilutes their blood, and they're actually looking for, just like us, if we're drinking beer all night and somebody puts a bag of potato chips in front of you, you'll hammer the whole bag.
Eat the whole bag, yeah.
And that's what the deer do. And I found it kind of interesting, and the guy brought this up to me. He said the most dominant deer in the area will take over the mineral station. He said, so if you're going to do one, you'd want to have 3 or 4, because if you're actually going to have herd benefit, 1 or 2 deer will keep the rest of the deer off that. And I saw it instantly. It was like, whoa, all these big bucks and mature does. And I'm sure you've ever seen it in the fall, if you've ever hunted over bait or a food source, is that, a big mature doe will come in and she'll kick the crap out of all the other deer.
She'll run out all the other.
And that's what these other deer are doing too. They'll kind of defend that as theirs. And it's just been interesting. I never used mineral before.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, I don't do much with it at all.
This season.
Right. It was that Mississippi State University has that Deer Lab podcast that I was listening to, and they were talking about how as soon as the buck starts to produce testosterone, antler growth is done. And that is like that mid-September, early September.
When velvet starts to...
Yep. That's like... So when you can legally use mineral out in the woods in Michigan, the whole reason why I brought it up, they're actually done with antler development anyways, because they're switching into that next phase of...
But they still like it, and I could see as how a hunting tactic...
Well, yeah, the bags that you had over there, you smell the stuff. I was tempted to eat some of it,
I tried it. It's salty.
I can imagine.
But I could see how you could use it, and that's why the DNR in our state specifically specifies it as bait, is because I could see how you could use it just like you would corn or apples or anything like that. It's something that you can put out to draw deer to.
I know our state's a little hesitant about baiting in particular, just because we had the whole TB thing, within the last 10 years. So maybe that's why they're gun shy on it. But just something that caught my interest really more than anything.
It'd be interesting to see what happens here in the future. Yep. I didn't catch all what you said earlier about them, and specifically up in one region. Are they going to remove baiting restrictions?
That sounds like what they might be doing. Nothing that has been...
And the baiting restrictions were originally put in place for tuberculosis, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
They eliminated most of it.
So there's just talk of it.
There's just
there's
the one
talk of it.
It's like
coming back.
Is it 485 or something?
487, I think.
487. Yeah.
Well, let's face it. For the people that aren't good hunters, they rely heavily on.
A lot of people do rely on baiting deer.
And I shouldn't say that in that manner either, because for the guy that has one day off a month,
right.
Well, and that's how a lot of people, I think, grew up learning how to hunt.
It is. It's how I grew up.
That's my grandpa told me to throw this pile of corn out here and sit over it, and
let's face it too. If you got a kid and you're taking them out hunting,
they want to see. If you want to see,
you're just gonna sit on a trail. Hey, we might not see a deer, but if we do see one, there's a possibility it could be a giant. Or do you want to throw a couple handfuls of corn out for a week up and say, hey?
And I can attest to that. There's definitely times where I've chose to go to a bait pile over a spot where it potentially could shoot a big buck, just because I'm in a mood. I don't want to sit out there and not see anything. I want to go see deer.
Right.
So I can attest to that. Anything else you want to ask or bring up?
Nah, not really, man. I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of went down my list.
This is your podium. You got anything you wanna?
Anything
Spit
else
out?
that you wanna
I mean, I'll plug a couple of events that we got coming up.
do?
If you
That
guys don't
Sure.
mind. This one would be specifically for people in Michigan, or I guess if you're not in Michigan, if you want to come up to it, it'll be a cool day. We're doing like a joint habitat day on August 5th with a couple of different conservation organizations like Ducks Unlimited, NWTF, Pheasants Forever, like MUCC, the Michigan DNR. We're all kind of coming. There's a couple other groups too. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting them, but we're gonna all have a habitat day up near like St. John's, Michigan.
Okay.
It's kind of the general area, and kind of highlight some of the different things that the Michigan DNR has made improvements on some state land, and we're going to kind of highlight for each organization what how that affects the deer hunting or the turkey hunting or populations or whatnot. And Dr. Craig Harper, I don't know if you guys know that name, but he's like professor of wildlife management at University of Tennessee, very well known in the kind of biology, wildlife world, as being one of the top individuals out there doing that. He's coming up to speak at that and kind of do the property tour. That's August 5th, but you got to pre-register. It's only open for 200 people, and you can do that by going to MUCC, their website. And if you look on Facebook, they've got events floating around. So
Okay.
maybe, I don't know if you guys do show notes or anything like that. I could get you the link, and you can
Yes.
maybe link to that or whatever.
Absolutely.
I know that's starting to kind of fill up quickly. We're about a week and a half away from that. And then really the last thing I would just say is, I would encourage anyone out there that has been on the fence about joining QDMA to join. I mean, it's a great organization to be a part of. The people are great. It's, our kind of tagline is where deer hunters belong. And it's so true. I mean, we're, like we've talked about it, we're not just about shooting big bucks or growing big bucks. We're about the habitat and the hunter management part of it, and so many more things than just growing and killing big deer. And if we're gonna continue to be able to live our hunting heritage and our traditions, we've got to have as much support as we can. All the hunting organizations do, but if you're a deer hunter, a whitetail deer hunter, like this is the organization for you. And I think you'd find that out quickly after you join, just reading through a magazine and the resources that are available online, or going to a branch meeting or event and meeting the people there. They're great people, and it's a great organization. So it's $35 for a yearly membership that gets you a magazine, a hat, some other things up front, but it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Sharp looking hat too.
Yeah, it is. I'll take a picture of it and post
there
it in the show notes. I was gonna do it this afternoon before you came over, but then like I said earlier, I figured I'd wait until after the show, and I'll give you the credit for coming over and pushing me over the edge.
We appreciate getting as many people to sign up as we can.
I in reality, I should have done it years back, but and I'll say this: there's so many good groups out right now. For the guy that has limited funds to know, like, man, where do I put my money?
Right.
I actually went as far as to read some of there's a website that ranks charitable organizations, and QDMA is like right up there at the very top for how efficient they are with their funds.
It's like 89 or 90% of our funds go back into the
which
mission.
Is amazing.
So whether it be educational, seminars or opportunities or science, research, things like that. And I think only like 10% of it is going into like administration costs and things like that. Everything else is going back into
Pretty impressive in this day and age.
Yeah.
You see so many organizations where it's the complete opposite ratio.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, really, if you look at it, in a whitetail deer standpoint, I mean, there's not another organization out there that's doing what we're doing.
Right.
We're the premier organization for whitetail deer hunters, and there's more whitetail deer hunters than any other species in the nation. I mean, we make up like 50% of the hunting population is whitetail deer hunters. So it's a huge amount of people that hunt whitetails. So
and people can go right online and
you can go right online and sign up online.
I think it was. What was the cost to be a member for a year?
$35.
$35. There's a couple different offerings.
Yeah, there's like a yearly membership, a a 3-year membership, a sponsor membership, which is like it's like 1 year, but you're like a sponsoring member. Get some different swag and stuff with your membership, and then there's like a lifetime member. And there's like different levels of donors and all sorts of different things, but different opportunities to different membership levels. So
cool.
Yeah.
And that's just QDMA.com then?
Yep,
or?
QDMA.com. Or else if you may see us around at some trade shows or whatever. If your local branch is active in those, you can always sign up at those at their booths or whatnot. But yeah, probably the easiest way to do it is just go online and sign up.
Awesome. Good to know, man.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
No, I'm glad you came over and did this, and I'll look forward to staying in touch with you
absolutely.
this fall and sharing some deer hunting stories.
For
and,
sure.
We'll try to. I'm trying to get more out. I'm trying to get out to some more of these events, and it's tough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Everyone's competing for everyone's time and money. It's
this time
hard.
of year too is just hard.
Right.
This summer, it's weekends are tied up with stuff, and then working weekends on top of it and everything. It just gets.
Well, keep an eye out for some stuff, because I'm trying. One of the things I want to do with the organization is to try to do some more like, how do I want to say this, like different kind of events than what we've done in the past. I know like BHA does like a great job at kind of like reaching like a younger audience with like pint nights and different things. So that's something that I'm gonna kind of experiment with and try to reach a different segment of deer hunters that I think we kind of miss out on right now. That's one thing I'm hoping to do, is kind of reach a younger audience, and the age of deer hunters is continuing to get older and older and older, and there's like a statistical hard stop at like 70. Like there's like a huge decline in hunter activity after 70. So like we're kind of like getting up there, like mid 50s, pushing 60 years old. I mean, in the next 10 or 15 years, our 3 or 4% of the population, whatever it is going to be even less.
Right.
And so we got to try to start engaging some of these, younger hunters out there and getting them involved with these types of organizations, whether it be us or NWTF or Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or BHA. I mean, they're all doing great things. But we're the best one out there for deer hunters. And, like I said, there's more people that hunt deer than anything else. So
yeah, it is. It's the number one pursued game, I think, around the entire world.
Yep.
The pint nights are great.
Right.
Just the whole social atmosphere.
Just to get together and it's nothing formal. Just have some beers and talk with some new friends and meet some new people and
like relationships with people,
exactly.
And everything.
Well, I was gonna say that off of what I was saying. It's hard to find the time sometimes to do these things, but man, are they fun?
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah.
And it's just full of like-minded people.
Right.
And like you said, BHA does a great job. Everyone I've been at's like at this great micro brew place with phenomenal food, and all these people want to do is talk to you about deer hunting. It's like, this is heaven.
Right.
Yep.
And I've talked with Jason. I know I don't know if we were starting to record yet or not, but I've talked with him a couple times about what are some things that we could do together. It's
absolutely.
Because I'm a member of BHA. I love what they're doing. I love what they're about, and what can we do? And that'd be a great way for us to interact more with the public land hunters. Like what can we do with you guys to, their whole platform is based on public lands and access and things like that. Like, what can we do together to kind of bridge that gap and, show that we're all here for the same reasons. So.
Well, I know a great way. We got one extra microphone.
There we go.
So
there we go.
We'll maybe have
I'm not too far from you. We can do this again.
Yeah, and Jason's right in Southfield.
Yep, he's close.
So maybe we'll have to organize and do some whatever. We'll have to have a couple beers and do some brainstorming.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. For sure.
We'll have a pint night. And we'll do one live from a pint night.
Yeah.
So.
So
cool.
Awesome, man. Hey, I truly appreciate you traveling over.
You guys having me. This is fun. So thanks for having me.
We'll look forward to doing it again.
Sounds good.